What's going on, Bills fans? I am Lance Nelson, the president of Built in Buffalo. To my right is Benjamin Shoup, and to my left is Scott Casson. The Bills have concluded the blue and red scrimmage today. It was a little bit wet out there. Fellas, how we feeling on a Friday night? Shoup, you got back in time for the show. I had to leave a little bit early. Uh, how you feeling after seeing that?
It was good to see them out there. It was good to just kind of be back in the stadium, being back there, even though it's just a scrimmage. I was making jokes, I know, with you there that, there were more people there than at Miami Dolphins home games for a scrimmage, right? It's kind of just funny to see how everybody's excited for even just a August 2nd, not really even hardcore practice, just, throwing the ball around, just being able to see these guys in their uniform. So it was nice to be there. Awesome to kind of see how the guys are doing, and just it's that time of year where you're really starting to itch for week one and starting to really get into just excitement with everything. But yeah, glad to be back though. Missed last week. Unfortunately, couldn't do it last week, but I am back and ready to roll and talk a little bit about this blue and red scrimmage.
Right on, Scott. How are you feeling tonight, and what have you seen? I know you're probably catching up on social media, things like that, but what do you think from your initial reactions from what you might have seen?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Excited to be here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Unfortunately, getting up to Buffalo for a scrimmage is a little bit of a hike for me, so wasn't able to make it up. But yeah, I was refreshing Twitter pretty constantly, seeing what was going on, getting text tape updates from you guys, which was cool. Made me feel like I was there, seeing some stuff. But yeah, we had the Hall of Fame game last night, so like Ben said, we're getting real close to football season. We got to see some technically professional football players playing football last night. So we're getting closer. We're officially in a football month. We got live college games in 3 weeks. Bills preseason starts on Saturday. So yeah, we're getting closer.
Yeah, super excited. Um, just to start out real quick with just a couple notes I saw, tweeted out on the Built in Buffalo X and Facebook pages as well. Um, the starting offense and defensive configurations. So it's kind of no surprise that Epinesa, Oliver, Daquan Jones, and Greg Rousseau were along the line with Milano and Bernard at linebacker, and Teron Johnson with Douglas and Benford as their cornerbacks, and then DeMar Hamlin started next to Taylor Rapp. So no big surprises there on offense. I just noted that Keon Coleman went out with Curtis Samuel on the outside. Shakir was in the slot. Kincaid was at the tight end position, and James Cook was flanking Josh Allen in the shotgun. So those are the kind of quick notes. I was interested to see a little bit on the kickoff. I know we have some notes about the kickoff formation from last night, and not going to necessarily name all the players, but just interesting on the kickoff return team and the kickoff coverage team, the mixture of some defensive linemen, like Bothroyd was on the kick coverage team, and then on the kick return team, Javon Solomon was on there randomly as like an up back there. So, just funny to note personnel on the different special teams units as well. That's going to not necessarily guarantee anyone a spot on those at this point in time, but at least gives you a little bit of insight into who is lining up where, and then maybe how the Bills are going to approach this kickoff from the return and the coverage standpoint. I'm just interested to see, the personnel they throw out there, the mixture of speed and size, and how they're going to kind of attack to try to stop the other team and then to score themselves on the return. So any thoughts maybe from, like you mentioned, the Hall of Fame game and maybe the kickoff side of things, just to start?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it definitely looks different. Like, first of all, it's going to take some getting used to. And I think we saw a lot of stuff online about some people didn't like it. Like nobody likes change. So it's going to take us some time to just get used to be like, what the hell are they doing out there? But I think once we get into the rhythm, we're midway through the season, it's just going to be a thing like people don't even really think about anymore. I know we didn't really touch on it there, but they did come out with like kind of what the onside kick stuff is going to look like. Can't do it until the fourth quarter, and you basically have to tell the other team that you're doing it, which I guess is the only way that you could. So that'll be interesting to see if the success rate improves at all, because I think they did bring it back. We can overload one side. whereas before you couldn't. But yeah, with guys that are covering kicks, I think it's definitely going to be different than it was before. Kickoff team before, a lot of skill position type guys, linebacker type, safety type, receiver type, like running backs, guys who could get down the field fast, get off blocks at full speed and make plays. Now in a lot more shorter combat zone, we might see some bigger guys there, because if you can, get from your guy to the guy 10 yards away from you and get your hands on him, it's a lot different. You don't have a whole field to run down and get up to full speed. So yeah, it could definitely change who gets put out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny even seeing, you just put up Joey's comment there, thinking that it's worse, already worse, which I think for a little bit, like Scott said, it's going to take some getting used to. It's going to, with the new kickoff rule and just how it's set up, it's going to take getting used to it. I'm seeing how different teams run it, seeing if some teams go more speed, seeing if some teams go more size, seeing what the kind of the thought process behind everything is, with these different personnel and different schemes behind it. And I think, Roy's comment here is perfect. It just came in with the kickoff rules. Kind of, it is a 1 year experiment to see kind of how it goes, and then they'll kind of revisit it, kind of like how they did with the pass interference, being able to challenge that and everything with that being for a year. They'll see how it works. I do think that it will end up being better overall. Like we kind of said a couple weeks ago, like Scott alluded to, saying how nobody returned kicks ever before this year, and hopefully this year with the new rule, it will make more exciting plays. So after somebody scores, you don't know then for the next 5 minutes nothing's really going to happen, because you have a kickoff, 2 commercial breaks, and then that's it, right? There's not really much going on in between a touchdown, the extra point, and so on. So I do think it will be better. I think, even with some of the teams in the Hall of Fame game, it's not necessarily, it's still new to them, right? It's not necessarily something that they're familiar with, they're comfortable with. So I'm curious to see how it goes throughout the rest of the season. I could see it being an absolute disaster the whole rest of the season, and people saying, nope, get this out of here, bring back the old ones. I did see a lot of people even saying, keep it out of college football. Don't bring this new kickoff rule to college football. But again, at the end of the day, for the NFL, I think it's better having this than having no kickoff returns for the whole season, essentially, unless you're 1 or 2 teams. So I'm going to interested to see how the Bills do it, who they put back there officially at week 1, to see if they can, maybe give Josh Allen some better field position to start the season, or if they end up opting for, taking an easier road, just getting it to the 20, getting it to the 25, and then calling it a day there. But it's going to be interesting to see kind of how it goes as the season goes on, but definitely going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, for sure. Just want to pause real quick. My guy Frank's in here. He's going to come on board with Buffalo Belia Sports and more. So go check out. I'm going to pop his Facebook page in the comments right now. If you guys can go check out his page, he's got lots of great Bills memorabilia on there. Go check out his group and see what you think. You got things you can purchase. You can enter some razzes and some giveaways there that he's got going on. But big thanks to Frank, who's going to come on board. Our guy doing graphics is got COVID right now, so we don't have the official backgrounds and different things like that. But appreciate Frank for reaching out, and we're hoping that we can get a special partnership with him going. So I just wanted to do a good faith effort here and throw his link in there and in the comments, and then we're going to finalize our deal with him and have more of from that coming shortly. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Frank and appreciate your brother for everything. I've been friends with Frank for a bit now, and he's got a pretty good group he's building up there, and he's got a lot of cool memorabilia things, and really appreciate him. So outside of that, yeah, we got Ben, I think you're up first, brother, and we're gonna rip you right into the 1-minute segment now, and then we'll get on to the additional blue and red scrimmage topics we have planned for you tonight, guys. Drop some of your questions and comments on whatever you've seen and things throughout the show, and we're gonna kind of have a free-flowing discussion tonight. Taking a little break from our preview series, so again, appreciate all the comments and things, and we're gonna let Shoop get to his deal here.
Yeah, it was missed a week last week, so I didn't have a 1 minute. This week, I was kind of thinking, what can I do here? What can I do that we haven't already done? We've already done a lot, especially with the season not officially underway yet, with games being played. So I just kind of got another really kind of fun one. We Trey White no longer with the Bills, but I was just thinking, it's the off season, Bills, Sabres, both Bills are getting going now. Sabres will be getting going soon. So I was thinking about Trey White, how he used to always have the Trey White Goalie Academy, and then I thought, well, what Sabre do you think could be a Bill? Which Sabre do you think would most likely become a Bill if that was ever possible? And after thinking about it, my answer, pretty simple, is just Tage Thompson. I mean, he's a big guy, probably I think he's the biggest on the team. There might be one or two guys that are bigger than him, but big guy, can really go in there. Maybe they put him at receiver, maybe they put him at tight end. Obviously will never happen, but just kind of fun to think about. They always have those comparisons with other sports. Could LeBron come to the NFL? Could this guy go to this sport? It's always kind of back and forth. So that's gonna be mine today. Do you guys think any Sabre could have become a Bill or an NFL player in general? And if so, who would you guys choose? So kind of just a fun one there.
Helps if you unmute your mic, amateur hour. I don't know, man. I think Devin Levi, he's got that little meditation thing. He might have a mean streak, might be able to put him out there. Don't know exactly what position he necessarily might play, but he's a fun one to think about.
Yeah, I'm not a Sabres fan, but I will say that most Sabres players are barely good enough to play in the NHL in recent history.
Oh, man.
So I think they should focus on nailing that down first before they go play other sports.
Sick burn.
Yeah. But I will go, NHL as a whole. A guy like Alexander Ovechkin would probably do pretty well. He's Russian. He's crazy. Guy drinks Dr. Pepper on the bench. And he doesn't really seem to care about contact or getting hit or like whatever's happening to him. And hockey players are tough, especially the Russian ones. You put him on some of that Russian gas they talk about, and I think he could probably, maybe 10 years ago, I've played in the NFL and, maybe done okay like running back or something.
Put him in a running back linebacker. Just let him go out there and just track everybody down. Be Bobby Boucher 2.0.
And Joey asked, I'm a Devils fan.
Oh, yeah.
Future's bright. Future's bright.
Hey, well, we did just get your coach came to us now, which back to us, but
you are more than welcome to take him.
Yeah. Well, this is a Bill show, though, right? We're talking, as Lance always says, nobody cares about
hockey. Shoot.
But no, I mean, we'll get right into the blue-red scrimmage now, though. Couple notes that we had that we're just going to go over. We're going to start with the offense, what we saw with the offense, then go into the defense a little bit later in the show. But, it's obviously we're not seeing a ton. Not seeing a bunch of stuff that we're going to see. We're not going to see a 30-minute scrimmage the entire time, but there are a few notes there. And the first guy I want to start out with, you guys know that I've been raving about him kind of all off season. Really excited to see him in this offense. Had a really rough day today from what I saw, from what a lot of people saw, was Curtis Samuel. He had, from what I saw, at least 3 drops. One of them even got popped up in the air and picked off. So that one ended up kind of hurting them in the scrimmage. It was the last play that I saw of the ones in the scrimmage. So, yeah, I mean, Curtis Samuel, really rough day. It was raining today, so who knows if that played a factor. So that kind of is just my question to you guys. With these high expectations, do you think it was just a bad day for him, or are you kind of concerned that he might not be able to step up in that role that the Bills will need him to this season? We'll start with Scott this time.
I think it's a little early to be concerned, especially just with the guy with the track record that he has. He's been in the league for 7 years now, and he's not a guy that has like a historical dropping problem. So he's probably just working out some kinks, working out some chemistry with Josh Allen. We've seen some clips from camp where he's made some really impressive grabs, that one in the front of the end zone, like reaching back over his head, I can think of off the top of my head. But, yeah, he's not a guy that historically drops a lot of balls, so not super worried yet, but it is definitely something to monitor, like how does that connection build? Because if this Bills offense wants to do what they think they're capable of doing, what we think they're capable of doing, Curtis Samuel is going to be, a top 2 or 3 reason that they get there.
Yeah, someone asked, did Tyrell Shavers do anything? I think he caught a touchdown towards the end, one of the last touchdowns at the practice. But on Samuel, I'm not really it's going to be my answer for a lot of the things we talk about throughout the preseason because these guys got to get into game situations. They haven't really done it, um, you know, in Buffalo necessarily. And then they're knocking some rust off from coming back from an off season. So I'm not concerned. I mean, this is what the preseason's for. If you come into week one and start seeing this more, or even in the dress rehearsal this preseason, if they're not a little more buttoned up, sure, definitely going to be some concern there. But overall, I'm not necessarily concerned right now because this is when I want it to happen. This is when the fumbles, the drops, all the talk about Connor McGovern's snaps and all that stuff, which I didn't see a ton of bad snaps necessarily tonight. So we'll see kind of how that runs into the season, but I assume that, this is the period where they're going to get those kind of things out. And then once we get into real football that counts, that stuff's going to be buttoned up, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially with a guy like Scott said with Curtis Samuel, who, he's also coming into a team for the first time that really has a quarterback that is a proven stud quarterback. It might take a little bit, especially this training camp preseason, for him to get used to maybe even a guy that throws a ball like Josh, right? I mean, you hear guys all the time talking about, well, once you get to a quarterback that really has that type of arm, it can take a little bit to get used to. Cole Beasley's, I think, said that a couple times even too on Twitter, just about how having a guy with different arm strength can kind of change how you even catch the ball. So with Curtis Samuel, today was rough. I mean, everybody knew it, everybody saw it. But with a guy like him, a consummate professional, a guy that knows the league, that's played with a bunch of different quarterbacks, I think he'll end up being fine, especially in the role that I think that they'll have him in. I don't think they'll have him in a role where, he's not necessarily going to be getting 10, 15 targets a game, even maybe 8 targets a game. So he's not going to necessarily have that high volume every game. So, yeah, I think he'll be fine. But he's a guy that I think a lot of people are excited for. And he's a guy that hopefully this was just a one-day practice thing that, just with the rain, with everything going on, that it just kind of threw him off a little bit.
Yeah, and I just
we're going to be able to see too on Sunday because we're going to go and see them again on Sunday, and then I'll be there next Thursday too. So it'll definitely be something we're going to watch, and then we're going to obviously see who actually suits up and plays in the Bears game, and see what it is there. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, I just looked up his just like career drops. The most he's ever had in the season was 7 for a 6.7% drop rate, and that was his second year in the league. Last year he only had 2. The most that he had after that was 5. So yeah, he's not a guy who drops the ball a lot. So hopefully not something that he picked up in the off season, but I don't think it's anything we have to look at.
James, is he hanging out with James Cook? What's going on over there?
Speaking of James Cook, there are a couple of guys right behind him that kind of segues us into the next question I had for you guys about, the guys right behind him, right? Ty Johnson's out with the hamstring. So now you're seeing a little bit more of Ray Davis. You're seeing a little bit more of Frank Gore Jr. Today, both of them ran the ball very well. Ray Davis on had a very long run, did getting caught from behind, and I think it was Benford that came from behind and punched the ball out. Did go out of bounds, but at the end of the day, both of them ran well. Frank Gore was finding holes. He was being very patient. Ray Davis, obviously, very, very excited to see by a lot of fans. He's already becoming a guy that a lot of people love. So with Ty Johnson out, who a lot of people also love and kind of have expectations to be that number 2, 3 running back this year, right, with Ray Davis, do you think with him out that this kind of opens the door for both of these guys? We'll start with you, Lance, this time, of Ray Davis, Frank Gore. Is this really that chance for them to kind of show, hey, Ray Davis, I should have that number 2 role right away, and Frank Gore Jr., hey, I should make this team and I should be the number 3 back. Do you think this kind of opens it all up for them?
Yeah, I'm excited for the young guys. Ty Johnson is fine too, but Frank Gore Jr. has obviously got the lineage that you kind of root for there, if nothing else, and just a hard-nosed runner. So that the shorter kind of pounder backs that I kind of want to see Frank Gore Jr. succeed. And then Ray Davis, obviously, how could you not root for that guy where he's come from and the things he's gone through in his life and just the man he is. But then you look at his skill set on the field as well, the ability to kind of run downhill, still had, maybe not necessarily breakaway speed, but still broke a big run, as you mentioned, and then being able to catch the ball out of the backfield while also having some pass blocking prowess and having the girth kind of to handle himself in the pass block. I just think that he has all the intangibles that you really love. So I'm excited to see both Ray Davis and Frank Gore Jr. succeed here in Buffalo. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I was rooting for those two to win the jobs. But I also, you know, didn't mind what I saw from Ty Johnson last year either. It seemed like he was always falling forward. It seemed like that's the thing I always come back to when I talk about him is that, falling forward, it seems to be his forte, and just always getting more yards and trying to get that extra few feet when he is getting hit. So, can't say anything bad about Ty Johnson, but also, with the way this team is constructed, the more youth we can get in that contributes is going to be better for the team.
Yeah, definitely. And Ty Johnson thinks it's a hamstring he's dealing with. Those don't usually go away or heal up right away. Like, it's probably going to be something that's going to be nagging him for maybe the whole season. Hopefully not. We don't know the severity. But yeah, like, definitely a big shot for an undrafted guy like Frank Gore to make the team. Even Darrington Evans. Like, he came pretty close last season. And him, like, he has some NFL experience. He's a guy who also has return experience, which there's not a set returner on this team yet. Ty Johnson was probably thought to be in that conversation. But if he's out, like, hey, here's another running back, similar skill set, can return kicks as well, which is something that's going to be extra important this year, like we talked about, because they're actually going to be returned. He's another guy who probably thinks, like, hey, I got a hell of a shot to make this team now too. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully Ty Johnson heals up, because the running back room was, in theory, one of the position groups that we had like the least question marks on. It's like we got these three guys, Cook, Ray Davis, Johnson, like that's it. Keep it moving. But yeah, this definitely opens it up, and we'll see a couple guys who probably didn't think they were going to have much of a shot. Like, now the door's wide open for them.
I'm muted now. Yeah, so with this whole, I mean, I'm excited to kind of see if they can take over Ty Johnson and kind of push him out there, especially Frank Gore Jr., right? I mean, you already kind of know what you're getting with Ray Davis coming in. He's going to be that guy that can really be a good complement to James Cook. And then Frank Gore Jr., I think, can kind of also provide something a little bit different that they don't, neither of them really have. He really can, he's a smaller back, very small back. So he's a guy that can kind of fit in. You saw it today too, when they were going in between the tackles, he was really just being patient, waiting. He would make guys miss left, right, and he would make those hard cuts back and forth when it's not really, you're not getting 5-6 yards within a second, but he's being patient and letting things open up, reading his blockers, reading where to go. So I'm excited to see. I hope that he can as well make the team. I really wouldn't even be opposed to having 2 different or 4 different running backs on the roster if they do end up having that extra roster spot elsewhere. I would not mind having 4, especially with a position like running back where guys can go down so easily. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of see what happens with them the rest of the way. Ray Davis, even though he fumbled, I'm glad it happened today. And this was the first time we've seen him fumble it at Highmark Stadium, because obviously we know James Cook, first time fumbling for him was his first ever carry in Highmark Stadium. So it's nice to see him. Hopefully Ray Davis can kind of be like, okay, I got my first fumble. That's going to be it. I'm going to be more conscious now once it gets to live games. And maybe even James Cook was like, hey, I also fumbled here when it was my first carry. Make sure, we're holding on to the ball. Let's be extra cautious about keeping the ball. So at the end of the day, you're going to beat yourself if you turn it over. So as much as I hated to see him fumble, I'm liking seeing it now rather than when it's a live game. But before we go into that, I did just want to kind of talk to you about, I did have this question come in from Kenny here that I wanted to bring up. Did Josh and Keon have any connections? Keon had a kind of a quieter day today. Wasn't too all over the place. Did have some nice athletic grabs in the drills that they were doing. So I just want to know about you guys. What are you guys kind of expectations, I guess, for Josh and Keon this year playing together?
Yeah, I think he's looked good so far in camp. Obviously, limited what we've seen. I'm not able to get out there because I live in Baltimore. I think most people know by now. But he's made some really athletic catches. He's a go up and get the ball kind of receiver, which we haven't really had in years past. Like Gabe Davis wasn't the best at making those contested catches. Diggs was solid at it. He just wasn't, like as big as Keon is, some other guys. But we got a lot of guys this year who could go up and get it, and it looks like Keon is definitely one of them. I just hope that expectations aren't necessarily too high based off a couple clips that we've seen so far. I think he's right where he needs to be. I think a quiet scrimmage in your first time out with a new team as a second-round pick is probably pretty understandable. So there was a poll someone put up on Twitter today. I can't remember who it was. It might have been us. If it was, I hope it wasn't because I can't remember. But it was like, how many yards do you think he'll have? And I put around 600. I think that's pretty realistic. So I think he's going to have a solid rookie season. But I hope we manage his expectations because remember, he is a pretty raw prospect.
Yeah, I don't have necessarily huge expectations 700 yards here from Scott or whatnot, but I definitely think the touchdowns can be there. I think 7 to 9 touchdowns is plausible given that he could have that role and be plugged in the red zone and be able to strike from 30 yards out and things like that. So I think that he's able to we saw that still amazing catch. I know it was not in pads or anything, but geez, that catch over his head falling back and stuff like that was just incredibly athletic and amazing control, and still getting his feet down with that, even though they said he might not have, but that's fake news. So definitely one of those guys where he's his own vibe, and definitely a little bit different than what we've had in years past on this team. So I definitely think that I'm really excited about him. But as far as this year, I'm really still trying to temper my expectations. And like I say, if he hits the ground running and really produces from day one, I think we're looking at a rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year candidate, because of the way, if you're saying he's going to click here and produce, and the Bills will be able to feed him. I just think he could be in that discussion, but my expectation is really that after the bye week in week 13 then, or week 12, but then he really starts to come on as more of a force. I think he just gets uses that first period of the season to really get his feet underneath him, really learn about a lot of different techniques that DBs are using to guard him, because he'll have then 11 different matchups under his belt, and be able to kind of really sit down and take a step back during the week off and sharpen, because that's what he does. He's a really good student of the game. He's a really into studying and those kind of things. He's really smart when it comes to his position, and I just feel like that sets it up to get all the notes he can get a good understanding, and then come out after the bye week and really be more of a dominant force than maybe right away. But if it happens right away, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either, I don't think. So but yeah, I'm kind of tempering my expectations for him right away, and I think he's gonna get situational opportunities, and I think he'll score some touchdowns for sure.
Yeah, I think like you just said, I think he'll be more of a touchdown guy than maybe a yards guy this year. He's not going to be a guy that they're going to say, okay, we're just going to get the ball in your hands and see what you can do with it. Like Samuel, maybe they'll just try to dump it to him and see what he can do with the ball in his hands. Shakir, those guys that can kind of yards after catch, right? I don't think you'll necessarily see that out of him. I think you'll see more downfield, red zone type of plays for him. I think he'll be huge though in the broken plays with Josh. You know how Josh loves to run around. He loves to get out of the pocket. I think that's honestly where he'll thrive, because he's a big guy. He's an easy target for Josh to be able to see. And he's a guy that even Josh has already said that, hey, he knows what to do when the play breaks down. He knows just find an open area that he can get him the ball. So yeah, I'm not too sure about the yardage. That can really range. Now, if he, like you said, Lance, comes out firing and comes out hot, maybe he ends up really kind of getting going and ends up with 1,000 yards, 800 yards, 900 yards, whatever it is. But I think it's more plausible to kind of see that 6, 7, 8 touchdown range for him. See him used in the red zone. He's going to be mostly outside this season. I don't think you'll see really much of him at all in the slot. So I don't have the biggest expectations for him, but I do think when he's called upon, he'll be able to perform, right? I don't think, again, he's not going to be a guy that gets 7-8 targets a game, but he'll be a guy that can get maybe 3-4 targets a game and hopefully can catch 3 or 4 of them out of the 3 or 4. So, I'm excited to see him. It's going to be interesting to see how, especially as the preseason goes on, to see how their kind of chemistry comes along. Yeah, it's always exciting seeing a guy come in, especially who was second round, technically almost first round, basically, but we'll see. But speaking of the wide receivers, I did have one more question before we get on to Scott's 1 minute here. We saw a little bit of slot receivers coming into play today with some of the drills, right? And there was, from what I saw and Lance saw, there was two slot receivers that were warming up with Josh. One was with Trubisky and one was with Bouchel. Shakir and Samuel were the two slot guys with Allen that were practicing with them. Isabella was with Trubisky, and then Keys was actually Lawrence Keys out of, I believe, Tulane. He was the undrafted free agent that came in. He was practicing with Bouchel as his slot receiver. So my kind of question we'll start with you, Lance. Obviously, Shakir, Samuel, they're locks to make the roster. But do you see Isabella or Keys with so many guys being able to play the slot, even Kincaid, we're talking about, like, so many guys that are able to play the slot position. Do you think there's even really a shot that a guy like Isabella or Keys can kind of push their way onto this roster?
Isabella maybe has a shot if he's going to be the return man and stuff like that. I still don't think that he's necessarily going to make the roster. I would say I don't think he's going to make the roster, but he was the first one out there catching punts today and the returner. Also, Ray Davis made his way back to the kickoff return spot as well during the scrimmage. So that's something to watch out for as well. But as far as slot goes, I think it's a lot of Samuel, Shakir. You're going to have Kincaid in the slot quite a bit as well. And you're going to have even Keon Coleman and some other guys, James Cook, motion into the slot as well. So I think that you're not going to have much room for a guy like Keys necessarily unless he's able to do some other things. But I think that position is pretty well shaped up.
Yeah, the biggest way I see one of them making the team, specifically Isabella, could be in the return game, like we were talking about. Has experience with it. It's really fast. Him and Victor Cruz, the pride of UMass football, and that's about the end of the list. But yeah, I think he has a shot. Maybe as a returner, maybe he can sneak into that wide receiver 6 because it doesn't necessarily seem like anybody's kind of grabbed that and run away with it. Like Chase Claypool has been, it seems like he's walked off the field limping with a trainer every day. He is definitely not like grabbing that job by any means. So yeah, it seems like that spot is wide open. Maybe one of those guys can do it if there's something that they do. They don't think the other guys can, but best way probably would be, in the return game if they can bring something there, because I don't think they would see the field that much as a receiver.
Yeah, and I just want to bring up John's question here as well because we're talking about punt returns. I personally, like I said, I happen to miss the punt returners. Lance, I don't know, did you see KJ Hamler back there at all?
I didn't notice him specifically. No, he may have been back there as well with Isabella and stuff, and I just was looking because then Josh Allen and people started coming out of the tunnel, and I started looking for the different players and stuff like that. So I kind of only saw the first little bit where I saw Isabella catch one. There was another person back there. Absolutely could have been Hamler, and I might have just missed it. But I think that another question here that I saw some conversation on, and I wanted to bring it up before we move into defense or anything. He says become here instead of because, but the Bills going to become a nightmare because D coordinators, because Allen's the team and everyone's going to eat. So maybe, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this, guys, because is it like, do you think having that top guy would be better, or do you think this could really work with the everyone's going to eat mentality? I still think we have some really efficient players. We're obviously missing that top end wide receiver 1 on this team, but does Dalton Kincaid grow into someone who is that top level threat, when they need somebody to go to? We saw some wet footballs out there. Some guys were kind of dropping some things like we mentioned, and who's that one guy where it's like, okay, if we go to this guy, we know we can get it. And I'm not sure that's defined yet. I don't know that we have that guy. So what are your thoughts about necessarily causing? Do you believe is going to eat mantra is going to really be a threat, or do you think it's like that's what they say when they don't have a guy?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one because obviously it's always nice to have that number one, right? Having Diggs for the past few years was phenomenal because you knew if you're throwing him the ball, 90% of the time he's going to come down with it, right? Obviously, people couldn't talk about the drop that he had in the playoffs, whatever. But 95% of the time he's making that play. Just so happened that he didn't make that play, and that's one of his last memories as a Bill. But when it came down to it, majority of these games late in the game, Josh was looking to him, right? He was looking to say, hey, I'm going to get the ball in your hands, whether it's even 1st and 10, get me 6. I'm just going to get it to you, right? So that's kind of a tough one because it's always nice to have a guy like that, but it's always more than, I think this question comes more from how does it affect Josh mentally? I think that's really the number one thing for me is does having a lot of these weapons, not having the pressure of having to get the ball to a guy like Stephon Diggs or a number one, a legit proven number one, does that kind of help him mentally be able to look the field over, not force things, really just kind of see the game easier? I'm not so sure yet. We'll see, obviously, as the season goes on and as we get to weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. But right now, it's tough for me to say definitively yes. I'd love to be as confident as a lot of people are in this receiving core and this offense with Josh and kind of with this new look that maybe Joe Brady might bring in. But there's a lot of risk to what this roster is right now and what this receiving room is right now. I mean, we just talked about Curtis Samuel, who has been consistent with drops, but what if this is the year now that he's stepping up that he does have more drops? Or what if Shakir can't blossom into that guy that we think, or Kincaid can't really take that next step? Then you're going to start questioning, well, what again is this receiving room? Is it something that can take us deep into the playoffs, or is it something that can kind of win consistently? So it's really just for me, it's tough to kind of say that it's going to be nightmares for defenses because when you look at it now, it's okay. Well, it wasn't they were planning for Diggs and Josh. Now they're just planning for Josh. So it's kind of a tough one for me to kind of say right now at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I definitely think if everything goes to plan, Kincaid will emerge as that number one main kind of option. I'm not saying he gets like number one receiver level targets, but it's 3rd and 4, it's 3rd and 5. Like he's the guy we're looking for across the middle on an out route, getting him matched up on a DB where he's bigger, something like that. He's just a matchup nightmare basically anywhere he lines up, kind of like Travis Kelce does for the Chiefs, which we've seen so many times. But also, like you mentioned, Diggs, the second half of last season, kind of when Joe Brady took over, Diggs was almost kind of phased out. Like they weren't really going to him on 3rd down, 4th down, gotta have it type plays. He was kind of more of like running guys off and like taking coverage away. I understand like he is taking the number one corner and a lot of times a safety, so that makes life easier for everybody else. But like Shakir was kind of the guy he was going to in big plays. Like I'm the one I can think about off the top of my head in the Chargers game. Like need a 1st down to ice it. Like we went to Shakir and he looked like he scored, but he was touched before he went down, whatever. Or like in the playoff games, we went to Shakir on 4th and 2 against the Chiefs. Ran that play they ran with Deontay Hardy against the Giants where he motions into the backfield, then jets right back out. Diggs wasn't even in that progression. He wasn't even either of those progressions. Shakir was. So then that crazy touchdown against the Steelers. I think that was in 3rd down. And it was just like a crosser across the middle, and he breaks 3 tackles and he's in. Like Diggs was almost kind of phased out. I don't know if that was by design. I don't know what that was. I don't know if I'm sure people did, but Kay Adams was at Bill's camp the past couple days, spoke with Kincaid, and what he said, and this could mean nothing, or it could mean something. He said it's a lot of selflessness in this year's receivers room. And she's like, are you saying that wasn't the way it was last year? And he said like the political thing and said no, but like, who knows? So we'll see. Back to the original point in question. Like, I think the plan is for Kincaid to probably be that go-to guy, Shakir as well. It's definitely kind of an experiment not having a true number one when you have a quarterback of Josh Allen's caliber, but quarterbacks of Josh Allen's caliber bring up everybody around them. I know we're not the same team, whatever, but like the receivers on some of those Patriots teams that they won Super Bowls with, like he didn't win a Super Bowl with Randy Moss. He didn't win a Super Bowl with a lot of guys. So I know it's a very different team, but like if it works, it could work really well, or it could not work, and we're all back to the drawing board next year, and we're trying to trade for somebody.
Back to the lab again,
Diggs
Diggs had 8 drops last year, led the team. So, I mean, definitely.
He also had the most targets. It's kind of skewed.
Yes, it's skewed. His drop percentage was only 6.4, which is fine. But, it's like people were mentioning in the comments, Andrew, that he had, I think he was talking about Diggs there when he said he had ample drops as well. But, and we do watch film, Andrew. So I appreciate you tuning in to get our insight. When we go through the season, you'll see we'll bring up the film here and go through it with you as well. So I think that drops are going to be part of the game. Nobody's perfect. These guys are human beings. That's part of it. And obviously, Khalil Shakir had a super efficient season at an 87.5 receiving rate there, which was one of the tops in the league. So we'll see how the target share goes for him. Does he get more targets? They were mentioning about Keon getting 700 yards, and it's not that far off. Shakir did have 686 last year on a target share that might be similar to what Coleman gets. So maybe he can get to 700 yards. We'll see. But I think his biggest thing is going to be in the red zone on that. But in third downs, can he be also a third down threat? I think Kincaid, for me, and boy, Dawson Knox, I think people are going to be sleeping on him. He's going to be a security blanket for Josh Allen. I think when they're going to need him, and I think he's got the skill and the talent to do so. Hopefully he doesn't pick up a wrist injury or some injury around his hands again, because that, hurt him last year. But I think he is definitely going to be one of those guys Josh looks to when it's just like, all right, I need something here. What can we get? Who do I go to? Between Shakir, Kincaid, and Knox, I think those are going to be the three, and then we'll see where Samuel develops and those other guys.
Yeah, before we get on to Scott's 1 minute, I just want to bring up Andrew had another comment I'm going to bring up here that was similar to kind of what Scott was saying about the Patriots that never had that number one, that really with Brady that was a stud number one. He talks about how Tyreek left, what happened back to back. I just think the reason I'm hesitant is because you can look at so many different scenarios. Like you look at even Green Bay, right, with Aaron Rodgers. It was great, and then Devontae Adams is gone, and they counted on guys to step up, right, and they didn't. So there's so many different scenarios, and yes, a lot of it at the end of the day is the quarterback. Do I think the Bills' offense is going to fall off a cliff? Absolutely not. But the question is, can they, once they get to the playoffs, play top-notch defenses? Can they have those guys, like Lance was saying, that step up on third down, that step up in the big moments? I think that there's a possibility. I do. I would be. I mean, if I had to say that Kincaid and Shakir, I love them. I think that they will take a major step. But at the end of the day, not having a guy like Stephon Diggs does at the end of the day hurt you skill-wise, because at the end of the day, Stephon Diggs is still one of the best receivers in this league. Now, he's not a top 3 like he once was with the Bills, but he's still a very good receiver. Hopefully they can step up. But I definitely, like I said, Andrew, I get what you're 100% saying there with everything, and I do agree. But again, when it comes to, like Scott was saying, with Tom Brady and the Patriots, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, until Josh kind of gets to a Super Bowl even, it's hard for me to put him on that level yet. Because even at the end of the day with Randy Moss, we all know what that offense did at the end of the day, right? They were phenomenal. But
14 points in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but that's also the Eli Manning curse. But yeah, no, I do. I like the point, Andrew. I absolutely love it. It's definitely a great one. But we'll see. It's just hard for me to go all in on it right now and say that they're going to be 100% better. But yeah, that's the last thing I had there. You guys got anything else before we get into Scott's 1 minute?
No, let's roll into that, and then we'll head over to defense.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? So not a super deep topic, but the Bills Madden ratings came out this week. Wanted to see what you all thought about that. Does anybody even play Madden anymore? Especially the new NCAA game out. That's all I've been playing. But just kind of wanted to ask what people thought. I saw Josh, the fourth-ranked quarterback at 92 overall. There was a lot of stuff that James Cook was like the 17th ranked running back. Ed Oliver not in the top 15 D tackles. Deion Dawkins not in the top 15 offensive tackles. And then maybe my favorite overall of them all was Travis Clayton was a 63 overall. Tommy Doyle was a 62. Travis Clayton has never played a snap of football in his life. And Tommy Doyle scored a touchdown in a playoff game. So just kind of want to hear everybody's thoughts. Like, do you even still play Madden anymore? Obviously, these ratings don't matter. Like, the people don't really break down football that well, especially because Terrell Bernard was the fourth-ranked linebacker on the Bills, fourth or fifth behind Deion Jones, who's probably not going to make the team. So what do you all think about the Madden ratings, and will you play the game when it comes out?
No, I ain't playing that game, dude. Definitely. I don't know. It seems like pretty low, but I guess that's more of the adjustment you can make to your ratings as you go through the season. Turn that player progression on and get those ratings up.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems every year that it's just crazy with Madden. So I mean, at this point, it is what it is with the ratings. Funny enough, I think Barry Sanders' son's like the head of the ratings department there. So yeah, it's just well, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll change it right as now that they're seeing all the backlash and people are like, "What is this?" Because I mean, even you've even seen Austin Eckler being one overall lower than Bijan Robinson, right? Like it's all over the place with everybody around the league. So, yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. It's Madden at the end of the day. If anybody knows real football game, the best football game out there just came out, and it's college football. So that's that.
I was still playing NCAA football 14 until I jailbroke my PS3 and had everything downloaded. But yeah, it's a Madden game essentially. Like if they know your name, they give you a bit of a higher rating, probably because people want to play with better players. But also wanted to shout out Reed Ferguson holding it down with a 37 overall, which is honestly kind of impressive.
Yeah. But getting off Madden here, because I know everybody I see in the comments, the pursuit on Madden, everybody, yeah, the Madden's not that great. I think until they come out with a good game, it's gonna be a little frustrating. So let's get on though to the defense though. Defense again today saw some interesting things. The first one I do want to start out with you guys is just three guys that kind of I saw taking some reps with the ones. They weren't starting out there with the ones, but they did take some reps from the scrimmages with the ones. One we've kind of seen with Elam out there. Other one is Casey Toohill. He was out there again with Greg Rousseau when Epinesa wasn't out there a little bit. And then Dorian Williams, Matt Milano didn't really, from what I saw, practice at all with their actual scrimmaging part. He was doing a lot of the drills, but not so much in the scrimmaging part as they worked him back. So it kind of just out of those three, Toohill, Elam, Dorian Williams, out of those three, taking reps with the ones, do any of them really have a shot, solidifying their spot with the ones? We'll start here with Lance. Do you think out of those three, which one kind of has the best chance to solidify their spot?
Kaiir Elam, 100%. I think Kaiir Elam has come out of come out of his shell and really blossomed in this spring, and then the preseason. Now we're really seeing him come to fruition a little bit here. And I know we have to, pump the brakes and see it in live action, but I'm really excited to see him in game action this preseason against other people. I think he'll get his run out there. I think he's going to play some. So I really think that Kaiir Elam gives us hope that, even if we're not able to pursue and keep Rasul Douglas for future, which I would love to do, by the way, I really don't think that just Elam and Benford and then maybe drafting is necessarily the best way to go. I'd love to keep Douglas around because the guy's a stud, but Kaiir Elam definitely coming into his own and having a heck of a preseason, really giving us hope to see that even if someone goes down, or even they talk about maybe even a rotation of guys with Benford and Elam, or Elam just taking that job from Benford. I don't necessarily think he'll start over Douglas. I think Douglas is just too good of a cornerback to let that happen. But I think if and when we need Kaiir Elam, I think he's going to be the better of the three. Dorian Williams is definitely someone to keep in the back pocket because Milano is still coming back, and we may, if he can show up, take some reps and get Milano to ramp up even more, maybe not play so much early in the year and save him for later because we have that guy that can go out there and play, meaningful snaps. That would be excellent as well. But I think Milano is going to be, chomping at the bit. And it's just tough barring, unforeseen circumstances. Bernard and Milano just have those positions on lock unless they somehow start playing three linebacker sets with Dorian and Milano on the outside and Bernard in the middle. But I'm not going to guess that they're going to do that a ton this season. And Tuhill is simply just going to be a rotational guy. He's going to be very good in that role. He was very good in that role in Washington, and he's going to be the guy that's going to come in and still be able to see not too much drop off in our pass rush because he can give 100% every time he comes out there.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said on Elam. It's a very make or break year for him. There's no question about that. And the fact that he's having a good camp is awesome. Just can he stay disciplined? Can he figure out the system? But I think a guy who has a real chance to play a decent amount with the ones this year is Casey Tuhill. Maybe not necessarily because he beats other people out, but all of our DNs are pretty injury prone. Like Epinesa misses some games every year. Rousseau misses some games every year. Vaughn's 42 years old and misses games. So, he's the guy who I know, he's going to go in as a depth piece, but, he wouldn't shock me if he starts a few games this season just based on guys who are banged up. And with how much McDermott likes to rotate that D-line and how much you really have to, he's a guy that's going to play a lot of snaps. Dorian Williams, I have a feeling he was maybe only out there with the ones because he knows the system. The other guys probably don't as well yet. He's going to be a great special teams player again this year, and might get some burn at running back, or excuse me, at linebacker. But like you said, we only played two of them, and they brought in a bunch of linebackers this year. And now it's we argued maybe the deepest position on the roster. So, I think Tuhill has a real chance to play a lot of snaps this year and really make an impact. He's only on it's a 1-year deal, correct? He has a good season this year. He's probably looking for a multi-year deal here or somewhere else.
Yeah, I think, you guys brought up depth at all these positions with edge, with, corner, with linebacker. And I think based off of that, I'm going to have to go with Elam. I think just because of that, right? You just talked about the linebackers with Dorian. How many guys are there in case Milano's not ready for a while or he's got a setback or whatever it is? There's so many other guys there that are veterans or just might even be better linebackers in general that can take that step and step up in those positions. And I was, I love Dorian Williams coming out of college. I thought he was, a guy that can really ball out. But again, he is a little bit more of I don't want to use the word project because he's not a project linebacker, but he didn't come out as a well-defined, definite, he's going to be able to step in and kind of really take over. So Dorian Williams, yeah, as much as I love Dorian Williams, I think he's the last one that might be able to take over a spot and as a starter. Tuhill, the only reason I'm not going with him over Elam is, again, because there's so much depth and because, who knows, Von Miller's, there's been a lot of talk about, even just from Bills players, saying Von Miller's really going to start stepping up again. Epinesa is paid now, so he's going to have to step up. Rousseau, and, there's just so many guys on that defensive line that edge rusher position that can step up. But I do think Tuhill will be a large part of that rotation. So out of all three, I'm going to go Elam. I think Elam really can make a statement this year. He can say, a lot of people wrote him off early. A lot of people said that they wanted him gone, trade him, go get something out of him. And Brandon Beane said, no, I made that mistake already once with oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now. Wyatt Teller. Yeah, he already made that mistake. He said, no, I'm going to wait. We're going to let this play out. And, if it works out, that's awesome. He was a first-round pick. But if it doesn't, we miss. People miss. Teams miss. But at the end of the day, Elam has been taking steps. He has been showing a lot of promise this training camp, a lot of talk about him taking those steps. And I'm blanking. Somebody on Twitter, Old Bill's Corner from last year, keeps on talking. Xavier Rhodes keeps on talking about where's Elam? Where's Elam? I'm hearing a lot of good things about him. I know he's going to step up. He's going to be a dog. So I'm excited to see him this year. I really am. Yeah, but like Lance did say, I do hope that they end up keeping a guy like Douglas there as the 1-2 punch with Benford, because we also know Benford can get injured here and there as well. So maybe Elam might be forced to step up. And it's not exactly the easiest position to hit in football in the draft with corner there. So I'm excited to see all three of these guys, but I'm mostly excited to see Kaiir Elam just really stepping up this year, and hopefully he can. But speaking of the one,
Mike Doyle brought up, are we convinced Tuhill's gonna make the team? No, I mean, he's got a $1.125 million deal with a $15,000 dead cap. No, he's easily expensible, but if he's producing, which he did when he had guys to rotate with in Washington, if he's producing, then he's a valuable piece. I think Dwayne Smoot being here makes it harder for him. I think drafting Solomon definitely makes it harder for him. Kingsley Jonathan would be a nice story, but I just don't know if he can really push to the level that Tuhill might be able to. So we'll have to see. I think that it's possible that Tuhill makes the roster, but no, I don't think that we're convinced that it's going to happen by any means. You got 10 pass rushers on your roster right now, and even Cameron Klein is having a nice little preseason and could be in the conversation. So, a lot of guys there that you have to consider, but Tuhill would be nice. I think as DE5, I think he definitely would be a nice rotational piece for this roster.
Yeah, and I think when we went over kind of our rosters a month ago, when we kind of did get to the ends, a lot of us, I think most of us had at least 5, maybe all.
I kept
5 or
6.
6.
I think we all made a kept 6 at that position, just because it's also a position that, again, players go down at the defense and offensive line all the time. You need that depth, and having a guy like Tuhill, who, again, like Lance said, is proven kind of to be a very good rotational guy. It's kind of a must to have a guy like that. But yeah, like you said, who knows? Might not make the team. But you got anything else about Tuhill, Elam, or Williams before we move on? Speaking of nice stories,
Elton Robinson just said his game done. The blue and red scrimmage is over. I just saw Sean McDermott is still out there an hour after the thing's done, signing autographs for people and things like that, and just hanging out. So shout out to Coach, because that guy he loves these fans, and wish some of the fans would show him a little more love back. But that's besides the point. We won't go down that hill. What do you got next there, Shoot?
Yeah, we were talking about great stories, right, with a bunch of players. Speaking of great stories, we got one that's kind of brewing right now that a lot of people, again, wrote off, especially like we talked about Elam, writing him off. But a guy that was written off by a ton of fans, I think, including kind of us too, when we were going over our rosters, is Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin's been running with the ones. He's been that starting safety. Obviously, Cole Bishop's been out. Edwards been out, so he's kind of had to step up there. They did bring in Kareem Jackson, but he's been running with the ones. And, with Bishop, my first question, I guess, about Hamlin is, with Bishop and Edwards injured, is Damar Hamlin a lock to be that starting safety? If they're not, neither of them are ready by week 1. We'll start with you, Scott.
I don't know. A lot of me thought him going with the ones on day 1 was just because he knows the defense and the other guys don't. Taylor Rapp is the only one who knows it. The other guys are new. Like, we're going to, first day, I'm assuming a lot of people in the chat, and you guys played high school football. All the seniors started the first day of practice, and it was great. And then, the underclassmen came and, took the jobs that were open. Kind of the same idea. But with so many guys getting hurt and that position being thin to begin with, and now getting really thin with a couple of injuries, it's possible that he is out there. It wouldn't shock me if Kareem Jackson picks everything up really quickly, because he has been in the league almost as long as Von Miller, maybe even longer. So he's seen everything, played in every defense, can fit right in. But from all accounts, Damar sounds like he's doing pretty well. So it's definitely possible he's a starter out there on day 1, which I don't think anybody had penciled in. Some of that being injuries, some of that being his performance. But it's going to be really interesting. It seems like Rapp has locked up the one safety position, which we all kind of thought. But it's really an open competition with the guys they brought in. And then Damar, and either Edwards or Bishop can get back soon. It doesn't sound like that's super likely. They'll be back in there. But yeah, definitely not going to be who we thought starting alongside Taylor Rapp at safety to open the season.
I don't think he's going to start week 1 as the starter, but I think for now it's definitely the same. He's got the most experience, and they're going to give him the run with it. If he surprises and does actually show that he's capable, he's obviously got the leg up. But Terrell Burgess and Kareem Jackson coming in, they're going to take some time to get up to speed. They're going to get some time working in preseason games. And I think maybe a guy like Burgess, who's a little bit younger than Jackson, might be able to step up and do some things. Just my opinion. I don't know. Obviously, that they signed Kareem Jackson first, and he's got a lot more experience. But Burgess, maybe with the synergy with Taylor Rapp from their time in LA together, I just think you could see if he gets up to speed quickly, and that's not banking on it either. But I just think Burgess would be my pick to start probably with Rapp. Again, given the chemistry they already built and the skill I've seen from him, we'll see if he can actually take what he needs to do now is the mental part and grasp the defense and the concept. I have no doubt that he can execute it at a adequate level. Let's say I don't think he's going to be a high level player by any means, but I think he could do it adequately.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Elam, as much as it would be awesome to see him step up and be that number one and really make a case that even if one of them come back, hey, I can play this position. He had some really good plays in the run game today, but was his one knock that's been kind of a knock for a while is his coverage. How is he going to do coverage wise? And a lot of this defense and a Sean McDermott defense depends on those two safeties back there being able to control the secondary and being able to control the passing game, right? Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer were always all over the field. Now, yes, they were also all over the field in the run game, especially Poyer, but you already have a guy like Taylor Rapp who was able to step up in the run game as a safety. Do you need two of them back there to start week 1? So Hamlin, as much as I'm rooting for him, as much as everybody's rooting for him, it is very early still. We'll see how the rest of the training camp goes, how the rest of the preseason goes, especially with Edwards and Bishop, seeing how they kind of recover and how serious their injuries are. We don't know exactly how serious Bishop's is yet, but yeah, there's even like you guys said with Burgess coming in, with Kareem Jackson coming in, both guys that have been in the league and been on winning teams before. They could definitely bring it back. And I do see Andrews bringing in what's the word with Micah. At this point, my guess at least is Micah's, especially bringing in Kareem Jackson, who is, he's 36, I believe. If you're going to bring in a guy that's that old, you might as well bring back Micah Hyde. So for me, it's just kind of seeing that signing kind of just put the nail in the coffin of, he's done.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, if you don't mind. I think that it's not going to happen in preseason, though. He doesn't want to go through preseason. He doesn't need to. So if we're talking about him, we're talking about sometime after the third preseason game, maybe right before the third preseason game if he wants a tune-up for some reason. But we're not seeing him anytime soon. If we're going to see him, it's going to be towards the opening game, and then we're going to see him go out there. And I think that's going to be the avenue they take with Micah, because I think he's still also making his decision. I don't think he really knows exactly what he wants to do yet. It's a big decision when you're actually, talking about a man's livelihood after football and things like that. Can he still do it? No doubt, but does he want to risk, not being able to play with his kids and things like that? It gets kind of deep after that,
Yeah, I would be surprised if Micah Hyde came back. Obviously, I would love it. I think everybody would, just from my heart would love it, at least just because, he's a familiar face and all the things he did for the Bills and kind of helped turn the team around coming in with McDermott, all that stuff. Would he be effective? Would he be healthy? Like you said, long-term stuff, I'm not sure. You have to imagine that him and Bean have interacted at some point, or someone has shot him a text like, hey, dude, another safety got hurt, practice at 10 tomorrow. So, yeah, you have to imagine that conversation's going on. But, yeah, I agree with what you said, Lance. If he's going to come back, he's not coming back for training camp. He'll catch us at week 1 or something like that. it would surprise me, but definitely not out of the realm of possibility.
Knows the defense. But do we got anything else about Micah safeties before we move on?
No, all good.
All right. Yeah. So let's see. Before last one of the defense before Lance's segment, actually, because we're gonna leave one for a little bit later, and once we see a little bit more from it. But I did want to talk about. We talked about the linebackers a little bit. We talked about Matt Milano's health. Balin Spector, he was the captain or the play caller of the second defense today. He was the Terrell Bernard of the second defense. And, if Milano isn't ready to go by week 1, 100%, we talked about Dorian Williams. Is he going to step up? Is he going to be that guy that if Milano's not ready by week 1? But we didn't really talk about Balin Spector. We've also talked about some of the older guys, right, coming in, Morrow and Jones and those types of guys. But Spector's been in the defense for a little bit now. He knows the system. He's another guy that was a draft pick by Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott. Does he have a shot to kind of step up? And do you think how much confidence do you guys have in him to step up if he's needed and Matt Milano has a setback or whatever it is? So we'll start with you, Scott. What do you think about Balin Spector?
I thought Balin Spector looked great last year when he was called upon. Obviously, he's been injured for most of his first 2 years in the league, but he played 3/4 of the Dolphins game, week 18. I thought he played really well. And then he was playing well in that Steelers game until he had another injury. So that's kind of been his bugaboo throughout his career. He just can't stay on the field. So we don't necessarily know what he can do. But yeah, I would feel okay if he was out there week 1 starting at linebacker. That may not be who it would be. We got Nick Morrow, like we mentioned. He wore the green dot for the Eagles last year. So seems like if they want a more like consistent presence, veteran presence out there early, he could be the guy. But Spector definitely knows the system. He's been in it for the past 2 years and has looked good when called upon. So yeah, if for whatever reason, like Terrell Bernard goes down or which, he got hurt last year too. So that could definitely happen. I would be okay with having Spector out there. He looked solid last season and yeah, I would.
Yeah, I don't think he's been bad in action. I just think he's not been available, to the Bills. So it's very tough to judge. We'll see what he can do health-wise, if he can stay healthy and keep himself in the mix. I'm not sure that I had him making the team or going to the practice squad. I'm trying to see. No, I had him on the 53. So beating out Deion Jones. So I think that right now, though, it's purely these are the guys that know it, have the grasp of it, put them in those roles and let them see how they do in these situations. So I don't think there's anything to say about because he did this today, he's got the inside track or anything. I just think like he's got, again, still early enough for me to say like all these guys getting these opportunities is still more about knowledge of knowing where to be and how to, give. It's really like, okay, I'm going to give Taylor, like DeMar Hamlin's going to give Taylor Rapp the best partner out there so that Taylor Rapp doesn't have, can be more comfortable. Not necessarily that DeMar Hamlin's the best option for that. Or, Balin Spector gives the second team, gives Dorian Williams maybe the best look and comfort and synergy there. And that's why he's there right now, because the other guys may not be communicating at that level yet. So that's where I think it's still early enough to say that is more the case rather than these guys are close to securing any sort of role.
Yeah. I mean, this linebacking group we've said it a million times tonight, just about the depth of it. And I think having a guy like Spector, I think he kind of has to make the team because of that leadership ability to be able to lead that defense if needed, right? To be able to say, hey, I know where you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be where everybody's supposed to be. And I would borderline saying that I'd probably actually be more comfortable with him out there than Dorian Williams, just based off what we've seen on top of the mindset of having to be that Mike, right? He's the Mike of the second defense. He knows everything that he needs to know. So I wouldn't be, necessarily 100% confident. If you had asked me at a 10, I'd probably be at like a 7 confidence with him, 6 confidence with him.
Not to interrupt you, but I would not want him over Dorian Williams.
I don't know. I think I would, just because I think the thing with Williams is that concerns me is
And
he's a
Williams
little
plays more the Milano role than the Bernard role.
yeah. I mean, if you're
Well,
going to look
weren't
at
we
me
talking
as
about in place of Milano?
yeah, but I mean, at the same time, a guy like Spector, even though he plays the Bernard role more, he's the Mike. He knows where everybody needs to be. He's so they're basically saying you're the captain of the second defense. You mentally are prepared to be able to plug in and be that leader. Where Dorian Williams, as much as I've loved him coming out of the draft, I loved him even a little bit what we saw last year. I just think Spector brings a little bit more of an all-around game than Dorian Williams. So that's why I think I would lean Spector because, again, Matt Milano, who at the end of the day is irreplaceable at that linebacker spot, can do a little bit of everything, where I don't know if Dorian Williams can necessarily do that right now. So that's the only reason why I think I would lean Spector. I don't know what you guys necessarily think about that, but I think I would lean Spector over Williams, which again, that might be even a conversation when it gets to week one if Milano's not ready of who's going to be that guy that starts. So I'm again not definitive on it, but I think I would lean Spector a little bit.
Yeah, I would go Williams. I mean, if we're talking about the Matt Milano substitute, then I'm going Dorian Williams. But if you're talking about just overall, I guess, I mean, I don't know. You want to talk about the first guy up if Bernard's down, I'm thinking Nicholas Morrow first of all. But I mean, if he doesn't have necessarily the time in and the mental side down quite yet, which I'd find hard to believe. I think he you know, probably doesn't need all the reps out there, and that's why Spector's getting him. That's why it's tough. We'll see. Like if Spector's healthy and he's going to be a big contributor, then I'm all for it. It's not going to be bad for the team. I just don't see it. We'll have to see if he can be available and make the plays.
At the end of the day, I think all three of us hope that we don't have to worry about this week one, and Matt Milano's ready. So at the end of the day,
you don't have to call AJ Klein. I'm good.
Yeah, as long as hey, he officially put the retirement. He officially booked it, and he doesn't have to worry about canceling any more vacations. Hopefully, unless Sean McDermott really wants to give another call. But yeah, hopefully Matt Milano's ready by week one, and we don't have to worry about it anymore, and he could be there. But you guys got anything else on kind of just linebacker, Spector, Williams, anything before we go on to Lance's 1 minute?
No.
All right, Lance. Then Lance, it's all you.
All right, let's talk some alternate helmets, guys. Right, Josh Allen came out in the matte black helmet with the red standing buffalo. Shout out to Kelly Mariakis here on Twitter, posted this graphic. I'm not sure where she got it, so I don't know how to credit exactly, but I'm going to throw it up here. On the right side, the matte black with the red standing buffalo. In the middle, the previous years, the blue chrome, and then the alternate red helmet on the left there. What do you guys like the best? What did you feel about this black helmet? And then do you want an alternate helmet when it comes down to it for the Bills to wear? I think the black helmet was sharp when I first saw it. Loved it. I know there's a lot of people out there that are not liking it, but I like it. But I would prefer the red helmet over all of the helmets that I've seen so far. And I would like them to bring back the old school red helmet as the alternate for the Bills eventually. So let me know what you think about alternate helmets. What did you like so far from Josh Allen between the red, chrome blue, and matte black with the standing buffalo? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And my preference is the red, but really liked the sharp look of the black he wore today.
Yeah, I know it's unpopular, but I just today was not the biggest fan of the black. I think it was. I don't know what about it. I think I agree with you. The red needs to come back. The red absolutely needs to come back. I mean, that one is without a doubt my favorite one. The blue one that we had, what was that, last year that he had the blue one? That one I actually do like better than the black one. I don't know why. I just think maybe it just pops a little bit more than the black. I know the black kind of looks a little sleeker and just look a little maybe. I don't know what it is about it, but it just it doesn't work for me, I guess. And I usually always absolutely love, like, all black uniforms, black helmet, black. So I usually absolutely love that. But I
Black on
mean,
black on black.
yeah. So for me, I usually do love it, but today just for some reason was not hitting for me. I will say, and I know we wear them. I think over the red, my favorite throwback helmet that we have, and they actually have worn them, is the white with the standing buffalo. I think that's still my favorite all time. But no, if they bring back a helmet, an old helmet, and it's not the red, I think that we need to riot there. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, as far as bringing back a helmet that the team wears, the red one, I think for sure. That's the classic one you think of, 90s Bills. But I liked the blue one he rocked last year. I thought that one was clean. I thought it matched with the uniform pretty well. I like the black
Can't get
one
over the
too.
blue into the blue logo though. That's the only thing I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's not a design guy, but I think it's a cool tradition. I was thinking I was trying to think what he might come out with tonight. I didn't have that one anywhere in my head, but it'll be interesting to see what he does last year because this is the third year in a row he's done something cool like this. There's only so many concepts you can come up with, I guess. So
Next one's got to be a Zubas pattern.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually Labatt brought the Zubas cans back, with the helmet too.
Well, I see this comment from Cam here. If we had black unis, honestly, now I'm looking at the picture. I think it might be that he was wearing a red jersey. I don't think the red jersey and the black helmet was it for me. So maybe if they were maybe even the white or the black, if they did have a black jersey, maybe I would like the black helmet more. But I think that now that I'm looking at all three of them side by side, I think that's the reason why I don't really rock with the black. Maybe just don't put it with the red jersey for me. So yeah, just something about it.
Yeah, I think it would be weird to see the Bills going out and rocking all black uniforms though. So I don't really see necessarily, just because that's just so off base of what their color scheme is. So not to say wouldn't enjoy it, but I just think it'd be a little bit strange. But yeah, I don't know. I like the red helmet or the red jersey with the black helmet. So I guess I'm just complete opposite of you on that one.
Thoughts if they bring back the next color? It's just Sabres colors. Seeing how that rolls.
Maybe.
Because I know the Amherst used to. When I used to work for the Amherst, they had a night Bills night, and they had Bills jerseys as their kind of their uniform. So maybe they could do a Sabres kind of
Sabres or Bandits, color scheme. Any of
You
those.
guys remember when the World Juniors team played at the Bills Stadium and they wore the Bills style USA jerseys? Those are so sick.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
still say it. The Bills have, if not the best, one of the best color combos and just the way that they mesh it all together. But yeah, no, they need to bring that. The number one, they need to bring back that red helmet with the old blue jerseys. Just give it to everybody, and then Buffalo will stop complaining. They won't care that the Buffaloes at the new stadium are only going to be 16 feet tall. So we'll see.
I can't wait. Can't wait to see them. New stadium's coming along too. We'll probably get into that, a little bit of that coming up here in the preseason. We're back next week with getting back into some more training camp reviews because we'll be there Sunday and Thursday. I'll be there Thursday as well. And then we'll preview a little bit of the Bears preseason game and then go back into the rest of our season preview series for the regular season, as well as we're going to finish up here in August with that season preview. So appreciate, if you haven't done so yet, please get out there, hit the like button. And on Facebook, it's a little bit weird. If you're watching the live, you kind of got to back out to where the post is to hit that like button. But all the likes we can get are certainly appreciated, and it helps in the algorithm and everything as we try to build this thing into a great brand to bring you guys Bills coverage. Shout out to Monster Energy Drink, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo. If you can share this on YouTube, retweet on or repost on X, and like everywhere, we greatly appreciate it. Go out and subscribe to the Built in Buffalo YouTube channel. Would greatly appreciate it. Anything else, guys, you have before we say goodbye?
No, just if you're there Sunday and you see Lance or I, just give us a quick go Bills and go Built in Buffalo. We'll have to FaceTime Scott there so we can get a picture of all three of us at the camp.
Right.
But
camp's a little bit easier too to do some live, so be on the lookout for us. I'll wear this hat with maybe a Monster shirt as well, so you guys can find me and come out. We'll love to do a live, or just take a video and post it on our socials later on and get your vibes from the camp. So be on the lookout for that. Love to interact with all of Bills Mafia and all Bills fans. So with that, we'll say go Bills.